Welcome to another episode of Beyond Physical, where we talk about the mental, emotional, social, and at times spiritual benefits of exercise. We believe that exercise is more than movement, and this podcast is our attempt at sharing that message with the world by sharing our own as well as our guests' experiences and knowledge. If you enjoy it, we ask that you please spread the message by leaving a rating and review, or even better, by sharing with a friend.
Do you want to introduce me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank gosh.
Meagan Rioux, ultra runner, activewear brand owner and manager, and now soon to be not only activewear brand owner and manager, but can I say the thing?
You can say the thing.
Electrolytes too.
Yo.
Really excited to unpack all things community and where your business is at, and just how things have changed since our last chat, episode 25. It's now episode 80. So thank you so much for being here, Meagan.
I'm so stoked. Let's go.
For those who don't know you, can you just give us an elevator pitch, 3 to 5 sentence introduction?
3 to 5 sentences. I really need to work on this, hey? Every single time.
It can be less than 3 sentences.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Meagan Rioux. I own Activewear brand and soon to be electrolyte brand called Up Active. I just love what I do, and I love to run.
Beautiful.
That is me.
I've been saying your surname wrong the whole time.
It's
That's
okay.
fucking embarrassing.
It's my name and my surname. Like it's either people will say Meagan and then Rioux, and so I'm like, you know what? It's fine.
Okay.
I'm whatever people want to be.
I'm glad it's not offensive, at least.
No.
And now I know Ryu.
Not at all.
So we had a really cool chat beforehand about community and how it's become a bit of a buzzword and all these kinds of things. It's something that I feel is very important to both of our brands and feels quite core to what we do. How, for you, why have you started to get a little bit of an ick around that thing?
Yeah.
I could be mislabeling it, but just
Identity crisis.
yeah.
Yes,
What is it about community that you feel has shifted from before Up?
Yeah. It's like it's such a hot conversation in my mind that I've been having literally it's been a while, but only the past couple of weeks do I think I've nailed it. But I think that the identity crisis is such a good word to use. But when I first started Up, been running and didn't really have much of a community and everything. And at the time, there just really didn't feel like there were a lot of communities and everything. So that was a huge part of Up and building that, which was let's create a community where people are feeling welcomed and we can all enjoy the sport together. And since then, obviously the sport's exploded. I mean, we were saying, coffee shops have run clubs, insurance companies have run clubs.
Literally.
And for a bit, I was like, oh my gosh, it's this just feels really overly done. And then really thought more about it. I'm actually our mission in a way has actually been accomplished. Getting more people out and getting more people moving. How beautiful that that was our mission when we first started. And then someone asked me literally 2 weeks ago. They're like, "What's Up's mission?" And I paused, and I was like, "How the fuck do me as the founder pause when someone asks me the mission?" And I could have said our previous one, which is very focused on community, and then I had this moment of actually where are we, and are we still community focused when every brand and has a buzzword community. And so that's kind of actually been on my mind the last couple of weeks, which is who are we? What's our mission now that it feels like it has been accomplished? And I think the answer that's kind of come out, and I'm still working on it, is community will always be at the heart of the mission and the brand. But we have to learn how to change with people changing and the market changing as well. And I think that now we're not just focusing on running, but it's gonna be focused on the person as a whole. So it's this holistic aspect of okay, cool. Beforehand it was maybe just running and sport, but what's their mental health? What's their strength training like? What's their day-to-day looking like that we can incorporate the whole person in this wellness aspect? Yeah.
The mission thing is a very difficult question. And I've had this as well very recently, where
Really?
at the beginning of the year I spent a lot of time thinking about that.
Yeah.
I read this book called
But it feels wrong because it's you should stick with your mission.
yeah, true. but supposedly, like, obviously there are different ways. We're doing this like super intangible thing that's like many people have different ways of doing it. But I was reading this book called Beyond Entrepreneurship by Jim Collins, the guy who's
Okay.
written Good to Great and Built to Last, and he's like,
Please send me all these books that you
I
read.
will do.
Please, please, please. Okay.
I am like a proper geek on that
No,
kind of
say
stuff.
I
so
wake up and all between all my sorry, I'm cutting you off, but like between like every little moment that I have in the day, I'll like put on an audiobook or put on a podcast because I just want to like absorb
Absorb,
everything.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So he wrote this book called Beyond Entrepreneurship, and in there he talks about how to essentially define the vision of the company. And he breaks it down into different components. So the first is, what are your values, which I'm very clear on for Horizon: accountability, curiosity, care, excellence. Those are our values. And then it's your reason for being, which is the next thing, which for us is to make the world healthier. You kind of can keep it very broad because it shouldn't change. Your reason for being should be the same all the time. And then you have your mission, which can change. So that's your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal. That is the peak of the mountain.
Yeah.
And whenever we summit the peak of the mountain, we obviously see that there are other peaks. And then we come back down, then we go and we pursue a different one. So his way of looking at it is like your mission changes, but your values and your purpose don't change.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that's worded so well. I mean, I'm a visual person, and that's actually exactly what the mission has felt like, where it's like we've reached our peak, and now we have to peak again. And that's really like the identity of like, okay, cool, how are we peaking again? You know? I love that visual.
he's amazing. He's literally like, so he's got a quote unquote lab, which is like a management lab. He's like super nerd, professor dude, super cool. And he, at the beginning of his career, was like at this crossroads of, do I go down the route of conventional academia and publish papers and stuff, or do I kind of go a more entrepreneurial route and do like all my own research and build my own lab? And so he's published like really interesting studies on what makes companies great and why some companies last and some don't, and why do some companies become great and then dip and kind of vanish.
Yeah, which is also so interesting.
It's fascinating.
So interesting.
And for him, a core part of that is like the vision, which is obviously the mission falls into that.
It's so important, and you see where businesses actually do fall, because they've lost their values and like they've lost who they are as a core. You know, that's really good. You know, like the rise and fall of Abercrombie and Fitch. I don't know if you've seen that documentary.
No, I haven't.
It's so good. It's really, really good. And I think that's such a good visual representation of like, you know, of that in a way. Yeah. Highly recommend.
What one part of that way of viewing it that gives me a little bit of reassurance is that because I feel like both of us are very early on in this journey, that it's okay to kind of like, as long as you keep your values and your purpose there, like it's okay if the mission is not 100% clear, but he is pretty staunch about like, you must have a mission to like move in a.
It's true. I do back that, because I think that there was a couple months where like I wasn't super clear about the mission, and then we like did something and it was kind of off, and I was like, it's because there's been like a little bit of like a 2 to 3 month identity crisis, and I think that like that I could see how that actually kind of like affected things a bit, you know, because you didn't like, you kind of were like teeling back and forth in your ship, you know, like lost at sea essentially.
So have you yet redefined what your mission is?
Yeah, definitely busy working on it, but I think it's really strong. I mean, it's community still rooted in that. But I think now it's focusing on like the whole person and not just kind of like, you know, being active.
Yes.
Because yeah, I found us pushing a lot against, which is so interesting. But pushing a lot against like the trend now of like, I guess, active and all of that. I'm like, why am I pushing up against so much against like everyone popping up and doing that? And yeah, which was like also really interesting to unpack and everything. And I think only recently have I kind of like really been like, actually, this is like so cool that everyone's doing it. So how do we root like strongly back into that in a way that like, I guess makes sense for us, in a way that actually focuses on the person as a whole and not just like metrics and like people going out and like, I think seeing people get like burnt out in this sport. And I think that's kind of what I'm actually trying to better articulate, which it was hard to see people, you know, get into the sport and getting injured or burnt out and like comparing themselves and getting really competitive and like not enjoying the process. And I think that was hard to watch in a way. So I think that's our kind of focus now, which is like focusing on the person as a whole.
And
Yeah.
how might what you guys do day to day change with that being the shift? So if I'm understanding correctly, it's like less being fully focused on one movement outlet being running and looking at other elements of somebody's wellness.
Yeah, I'll give you actually a really tangible example that literally we haven't started, but we had the conversation yesterday with Calvin and Lauren, and we've been for so long looking at doing some type of like run club, and it has been something that I've been like, do we do it? Because everyone's doing it, and did it, and it just didn't like really fit. And yesterday we were like, why don't we do something that actually is just a bit more inclusive? So like, if it's the running, and then we also kind of can bring in like a dietitian on, so it actually becomes this like wellness club and not just something that's like focused on running or just the sport. And initially we were like, let's launch, and we're gonna have like, you know, these sessions, and we're gonna become like registered, and it's gonna be like we're gonna create like athletes, and it's gonna be so like, you know, hectic and focused, and we're like, yeah. And then I really looked at our mission, and I was like, does this fit? So I think like that's a really good example where it's like, okay, cool, like just why don't we actually just create a bit of like a holistic club, you know, that is just focused on value and everything at the moment.
And in terms of the people that you want to be representing your brand, is that now going to change a little bit given that okay,
No. I think it stays core. I think it actually comes down to actually looking at the people in our community and being like, are we serving them, you know, with what we're doing? So no, I think like I'm like really obsessed with the people like that are like surrounding the brands. Like I've actually like friends are now because of the brand. So I look at everyone like involved or have been involved in some capacity, and I'm just like, I love the people that are involved in the brand. Like they're cool. They're very like mission driven. They're like, yeah. So it's I think it's more so just like, how do we serve them better, essentially.
I think the whole mission thing in general, and I could be wrong, but I think it is something that budding entrepreneurs at the beginning find challenging to define. Because it's like anything, you're kind of finding what is resonating with you.
I was gonna ask you, because it's something that I've experienced, and it's been more so this year. Whereas I think when I first started up, I was like, I know what I'm doing. I was like younger and everything, and I was like, fuck yeah, no one can tell me what to do. I know everything. And it's only really been this year where I was like, I don't know, you know, and I've become like so much more curious and open and like aware of how new I am in the journey. And it's just made me like actually more confident, if that makes any sense, to like not just be open to more knowledge and more people and more input. I don't know if you've had that as well, but I found that like I have grown almost by accepting like there's so much more to learn, and by saying this is still so new.
I think I kind of felt and still feel. So from the beginning, I was aware that I knew very little. I think that's how I felt. It was very much like I'm ignorant and I'm going into it and I'm sure I can do it, but I don't really know what's there.
Yeah.
And I've definitely found, I forgot what the like curve thing is called, but as I've learnt more and spend more time in the space, that I uncover the like more stuff that I don't know, which I'd find incredibly exciting.
Yes.
And I totally agree in that. I find that I've grown more by embracing the curious side of entrepreneurship, for sure. And it's weird because even if you go super narrow, sometimes narrowing down your focus uncovers a whole bunch more stuff that you don't know, which is incredible. It's weird. It's kind of counterintuitive.
It's really cool, like, because I will go like kind of almost bit by bit in the business, especially like, you know, since, you know, I'm still so small in terms of like team and all of that. So literally just go like bit by bit, SEO, website, and then like you said, as you go niche to niche, you're just like, oh my gosh, there's this like whole other world, you know, and you can become somewhat, and then you start valuing other people and then their input, because you're like, wow, like you're an expert in this thing, like what can I learn, you know, and it becomes very, very cool because you just learn, you're just like learning all the time. At least just like I feel like if you're like really leaning into it and you're really open and I have no ego, it just, yeah, you're constantly learning. It's really, yeah, it's very cool.
I think all of the things became a lot more apparent when in May, I stopped taking PT clients and I stopped doing coaching or at least started phasing out all my clients. So essentially stopping my day job so I could fully focus on Horizon. And when I did that, just this mountain of stuff was revealed to me that I was
Yeah.
like, wow, there's a lot going on within this business that I wasn't fully aware of that can be improved. And I thought that was really cool. So, and I think it continues to happen, as you say, like as you spend time on different parts of the business, you get a deeper appreciation for what people in the team do or what certain things require because you really go deep into it.
Yeah.
Whereas usually if you're the conductor, you see the outputs only. You're not entirely aware of all of the inputs that contribute to that output. And
Well, like you are your input. At least I'm usually
Yes.
my input. So
you
it's
can't
like,
see the wood from the trees.
yeah. So like I'll be the input. I'm like, hey, if you want to do SEO, I got to learn that. I got to become, got to become the input. And I think like that's quite. You take a lot of ownership in that. You know. Yeah.
A small thing that I've started paying attention, well, it's actually not small, it's very significant, but what I've been paying attention to a lot more now is our churn, so members that leave, and just looking at all the different levers you can pull to reduce that has been incredible. Like, and
That's
it's one
interesting, like
number.
what?
So checking in when people don't come. So if they haven't come for a period of time, checking in.
Yeah.
What are the tools that you can put in place to do that automatically? Because we have hundreds of members, and that is really to message them individually. Then you must hire someone full time
Yes.
to do
Yeah.
that.
It's like setting up an automation kind
So
of
how do
thing.
you set up the
Yeah.
automation for that? When people come a number of times, how do you reward them? So you acknowledge their consistency to make sure that they
Yes.
continue to do that.
Yeah.
When somebody wants to leave, what does that process look like? We have flexible memberships, so we don't have binding contracts.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to cancel, which is a huge value add. But at the same time, there can be some friction put in place to just allow the person to reflect before they make that decision. So what are
Yeah.
you doing to cause that bit of reflection beforehand?
Yeah.
For instance, putting in place a cancellation meeting where you go and you chat with the front of house and you go, I'm canceling, and then they say, okay, cool, like perfectly
Oh,
fine.
yeah,
Can you
I
let me
would-
know like what's happening about like what we can do better? You don't like we're not trying to upsell you here or anything.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah. That would also get me probably.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
look someone in the eye and be like, I'm leaving.
I mean, generally you do have to tell us anyway,
Yeah, of course.
but I think that's a lot easier than chatting to the person.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
One of our PTs was like that it's quite hectic, and again it's so new in the game, like I don't mind trying that out.
Yeah.
If we get a lot of pushback and people are like, that's really weird, then we can change it.
Yeah.
However, I think the fact that, I mean, if you, and probably nobody's going to listen to this anyway, but if you just leave and don't have the meeting, we're not going to not cancel your membership. It's really to kind of collect feedback. What you could also do is like when someone's canceling, you could put in like an automated email that goes out that just asks for some feedback.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you want to understand what it is that, that's not, what needs are not being met.
Yeah, I think that's even like regardless, I think that's a really nice like just to have like in terms of survey. Like why
Yes.
it's a nice data point to have. Like, the more
100%.
data you can get on like what customers are thinking and all of that actually like helps you kind of just be better.
Yes.
Essentially. Yeah.
And then another one was, I think the first one actually was just measuring churn. There's there's like the moment where you start to measure the thing where I don't know what happens, but that's like a leading indicator for bringing the thing down.
Yeah.
Or improving it. But yeah, these are all things that we've never really paid attention to. It's all been around building our community as well.
Yeah.
Acquisition, so like building the brand and doing organic content and, doing training for front of house so that, they know how to guide people properly and things like that. So yeah, and literally it was just that one number where I'm like, that is a terribly high number. Like the industry average is 3.5%. We're at 12.5%.
Okay,
That's not good.
interesting.
Like
Yeah,
that's
but I wonder
concerning.
if it's just because you have a flexible policy. Like, I wonder
think-
how much of like that actually would contribute.
So
Sorry, against like other like in the industry, because like most people in the industry, like they don't have a very flexible contract. So I would wonder like look at like gyms who also have flexible contracts to see what their percentages are.
yeah, so I think that's a very good point. However, I'm quite stubborn in that I believe that if the
Yeah.
service is good enough, people will stay because they want to. I also know that we don't make it easy for ourselves because we're not the cheapest gym. So,
Yeah.
and gym is a very commoditized thing, especially open gym.
Do you have foreigners that come in?
Tons, a lot.
So that probably
So-
contributes.
So the way I tried to normalize for that was I only looked at the winter months.
Okay.
So you kind of remove
Yes.
foreign visitors.
Yeah.
Because we have like, honestly, like the gym is mainly actually visitors in summer season. But then during the winter, it's 90% our locals. So that's how I try to adjust. I still have like a lot more digging to do and trying to unpack
It's
that
actually
number.
so interesting. I'm like, I want to go.
It is.
But
It's so
interesting.
much fun.
I'm literally over here being like, I wonder what it could be. Like, what if you looked into this thing?
Yeah, no, it's such an
Yeah.
exciting thing to do, and literally all that's from is being like, okay, let me turn on this metric on our gym management platform
Yeah.
that shows me the number, and I was like, damn, that's a high number.
high one,
Let's go and like look at what's going on.
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, which I wouldn't have done if I was taking 5 hours of clients a day, because
Yeah.
I would, you know.
Yeah, I
get a
mean, it's
bit
like what we were
tired.
speaking about earlier is kind of like your time value for certain things and certain tasks, you know, and having to look at that very carefully, especially like when you like, yeah, you're building something, like your time starts becoming this like very, very important thing to be looking at and everything. Yeah.
100%. I wanted to ask, for me personally, that what I'm super curious about is, so our mission, to put it out there, is to become a global strength brand by 2035. That's the mission currently. There are obviously a bunch of milestones before that
2035?
point. Yes.
Okay.
So 10 years time.
Okay, cool.
He also, by the way, Jim Collins said that the mission should be a 10 to 25-year goal. So that's just an aside. But when I've thought about that and what that might
Yeah.
be like and feel like and what it would be like to kind of execute on that thing, like I said, of course, there are tons of milestones before that point. We're very far from that. But I think about you in that instance, because you are not originally from South Africa, but you started a brand in South Africa that is one of the brands that I actually know, which is already saying a lot about what you've done, because there's a lot of clothing brands, you know. I probably don't know 95% of them. So you've done something right, you know. It's like people are aware, and it's something that I see people wearing often and stuff. And you've actually built a brand. So I think about, in this instance, how would we establish our brand in a place where I've got little to no actual network?
Yeah.
You know, so how did you do that? Like what?
It's a really good question, and I
Where do
think
you start? Like what?
and to your like point of mission, I always say like people ask me like I want to be the next Nike. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like I think it's so doable, especially in the space where you're seeing brands pop up, and we are actually pivoting a bit into like the electrolyte like supplement space.
What?
Which I'm
sick.
so stoked for. Like a whole other convo. So now it actually kind of changes this whole thing. But I have been saying I'm like I want to be the next Nike. So in terms of like how to do it, because it's the same thing we have now. I'm like okay, cool. Like now I want to take this in the States, and what is that going to look like? And you know when first started up, I mean. Had like already a bit of like network and friends here, but it just was like a lot of time being like in the community and being involved. Like a lot of time was spent just like doing things and being involved in the community and like building something and like it's a lot, like just a lot of time with people and starting something. So if I were to like go to the States, I think I would do a very similar plan of action. Granted, I think the space is so different now because again, everyone had a club. Like no, there's not really clubs back then when Up kind of first started. So I have been looking at how things would change being in the States, but it literally is like getting involved and being like putting yourself out there, which was hard at first. But I think I've realized about myself, like I just don't mind falling on my face because I've just done it so many times and I've landed been so fallen so hard. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll get back up. So I don't mind putting myself out there. And I think that's what's going to take going abroad. is you have to put yourself out there, and you have to be
Gotta be
willing
on the
to,
ground.
you have to be on the ground. So it is going to mean spending time there and showing face and maybe getting some no's or starting something and being the only one there. Yeah, it's a good question.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think that's why it's a difficult thing to do that.
Yeah, because it's uncomfortable. I mean, we've done like a lot of clubs, and luckily we've gotten numbers to the clubs. But like, for a really long time, and every single time we do something, I'm like, what if no one shows? And like, it's so valid. And I think that's like the biggest word that sits in my head, where it's like no one shows. And it was such a good example. Like, it was the first expo that we did at Two Oceans, and I think it was like our third, fourth month into business. And it's just been me. And so I went and did like, I thought that I could do this whole expo by myself. And I had some friends come and set it up, but it was like so DIY. It was just like so shitty. And like right across was Garmin and everything. And friends left, so it was just me manning the store. And I look around and there's just like teams of people everywhere. And I stood there and like no one's coming. And I just got this wave of like, what are you doing? And I went to the bathroom, and I think it was just like the biggest breakdown. I think I've just I have a couple, here and there, but that was just like, I'm so embarrassed. What am I doing? And no one's gonna like buy up. Everyone hates the brand. Like all these just like, hectic things. And I was like, I want to pack up, but I can't pack up because now they're gonna know. Like, everyone sees me. I can't pack up. Anyway, we stayed and we actually broke even that day.
Wow.
Which was really, really cool. But it kind of goes to show where it's like, you have to be willing to put yourself out there, and you have to be willing to be like, stand there with no one in your fucking thing, like, and just weather that and weather that and weather that until it gets a bit easier, but it's still hard. We do things and I'm like, oh my gosh, sorry, I'm going off. There's something early. It's so embarrassing. But again, we did something earlier this year. We did like this run pop up for the hats that we dropped, and like no one really came, and I just was like, cool, this is building character right now. And it was a very different concept, and it didn't work, and at least now we know. Yeah.
You've just got to show up.
Yeah.
You've got to show up. I'm such a stickler for that, and I can relate. Before the gym, I did my outdoor classes.
Yeah.
It was like a couple of times a week, and I was just so stubborn in always being at the class, even if nobody said they were coming. And oftentimes I would go I'd set up at 5:30 in the morning, be ready at 6. Nobody would come to the class. And I'd stay there for like half an hour. Okay, cool. People are definitely not coming. And then I'd pack my stuff up and I'd leave. And I did it religiously. Like I would always show up. Sometimes literally just my roommate would come. And it was about like always being there, because you also never know, what if someone does show up but they didn't say they were going to come?
Yeah.
And it's like those little inches really do add up.
They also kind of build you a bit. You know what I mean? Where like if you can kind of get used to that, and you're putting yourself in those positions, like it builds you. You know what I mean? And it also just makes you so fucking grateful when people do. Like 4x48 this year, like every year it grows a bit. And I literally at the end, I like gave a little speech and I like cried. I was just like, it just makes you so grateful for when people do show up, and when things do work. Because a lot of the times, like you said, where you just, and people also don't see that. And I think that I'm trying to do a better job of like being vocal, of like when things haven't worked. And like for you, like it's so powerful to hear like you showed up you'd show up and no one would be there for like I don't know how long. But like I love to hear things like that, because I think like that is way more relatable than being like, yeah, we had this thing and like 100 people showed up every single time. I'm like, that's really cool, but like I want to hear about when you personally showed up every single day, because some people it hits for them, and some people like they had to work 6 months to a year to get to the size that they did in terms of the community thing.
I think it's more normal for that no show up thing to happen.
Yes.
I think that's so normal and like should just be accepted as what will happen at the beginning. No one's gonna come to your thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Like,
why would they?
You
know what I mean? Like, why would they come?
Yeah, it's like you're there because no one knows about you and you want people to know about you.
Yeah.
So how are they
how are you gonna get? And that's back to the question, which is like, you can't be like, hey, here's my product, come. You know what I mean? I think that like it has to be like you need to. I think like we said earlier, like you have to just keep giving value and keeping giving value until it slowly builds. But it's just like you can't go anywhere and being like, hey, I have this product, no matter how amazing it is. Like you have to put in the work to like show that and to like show who you are and like what you're doing and why you're doing it over and over and over again, you know. Yeah, but I think about the States and going to the States, and I'm like, yo, we have to do this all over again, you know?
But now you've got some sort of playbook.
Yes.
It's going to be different. The context is different.
Yeah.
The people are different.
Yeah.
But like you have some sort of playbook, which is
Exactly.
going to make it that much easier.
Yes.
It's still
Yeah,
going to be
yeah,
hard
yeah.
and stuff, of course, and it is kind of like it's day one, but it's also you have experience.
Yeah, I think it sounds weird too, but like age kind of is also a thing where it's like I find myself like posting a lot less on socials, and like I think back then it was just a bit easier because I was like in the target market, and I'm still there, like I'm still you know, young, but like I'm shifting now as well. So I think it's just going to be interesting to now to do that playbook elsewhere, and you know, maybe it means like I'm there, maybe someone else is there as well this time, you know, and like we do this thing like in, you know, tandem. Yeah.
Yo, when do you have a timeline for maybe going to the States?
At one point, I was like a year, but now we're 6 months in. But I think I just have to be realistic, and I think that like once it can get up to a place where like it's kind of like going here, kind of without me, then it's like okay, cool, we're gonna go all guns blazing in the States as well. But I want to get the electrolytes up to a point where like distribution's quite high, and everything, and like yeah, I think but I have my eyes very much on it, and I'm constantly thinking of like what's going to be our point of entry. But market shifts, so I also have to be aware of like, you know, being flexible, yeah, and everything.
What are you thinking about how you're going to introduce that product? Are you going to like what's
Electrolytes.
the go to market? Are you going to be like doing more of your events and it's going to be visible there? Are you
Yes.
going to be like what's
I think
the
it's like the same approach in the beginning that we had like with Up, and the reason why I get so pumped by electrolytes, I think mainly because like what it's going to mean to market it, and it's so much harder like with activewear. It's just like it's like an expensive product to scale, whereas like and we can't really give away sports bras and things like that, but we can with electrolytes. We can. I was gonna say an idea we have in the prom, but I will like wait to see because
surprise us?
yeah, yeah.
We've also
But
got
it's
some
just-
prom ideas.
Yeah, okay, well then we can
can
prom
collab.
it together, yeah. But I think it's just being like very, very involved in the community, because now we can offer this thing and it's less of an expense in the business to be like, hey, here's some electrolytes, you know. So it's like working and maybe sponsoring some events, you know, more events on our end, expos, just like getting very, very front and center. And I'm also really stoked to be able to kind of also like sponsor people. It's a lot harder to sponsor people with clothing. We also have like a very small range of clothing, and we'll stay that kind of way. So it's harder to kind of do this thing of like new drop, new drop, new drop for like, you know, the people we have on board. So yeah, I have like a lot of ideas, and I think the path to scalability with the electrolytes for me is like very clear. Yeah, and I'm also like really stoked about the problem solve there. Like with clothing and with brand, I thought a lot about the problem that we're solving, and I think with a brand, and there's a lot of ways of looking at this, and the more I guess negative lens is kind of like you're kind of buying into people's, especially with clothing, into people's like egos and kind of insecurities, and you're kind of selling this thing of like this is who we are, you know, like, and this is who we aren't. And I have always actually kind of struggled with that a bit, is like the problem solve that's not just, you know, functional and all of that, and everything, but with something like electrolytes, like the problem solve is so clear. I mean, we were speaking earlier about like how much water we need, and like, you know, like if you're dehydrated, you like increase your risk of injury by like 80%, and like things like that are just like, it's the problem is like something that I'm also like deeply passionate about, you know, and everything. So that space is like really exciting me, and I've had the idea for a while now, so I know it's not just a shiny new object thing, and everything. So yeah, I'm excited to get that going. I think we're on the tail end of it now. I think we finalized the formula.
Also, it kind of, I mean, I don't know Up's Jim Collins' reason for being, like your purpose, but if I had to just guess, it's electrolytes and activewear are aligned.
Yes, 100%.
They can support the same reason for being.
Yeah.
So it's not like something that has it doesn't play into, you know, why you exist and
Yeah.
what drives you and what you feel like your calling is. What I also really think is such an exciting part of making that pivot or adding that part to the business is so clearly have I seen this use case where we were selling a certain electrolyte product from the front. It's a known brand, it sells well, and we also had the singles available at the front that people could buy. And it always does well. It's a banker. It's the only product that we actually buy up front and pay for the product. All
Yeah.
the other stuff, I'm very hard on, like trying to have a negative cash flow cycle. So I will pay for the product after we've sold it, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is not the best for the supplier, but that's how I try and
Yeah.
protect our risk. But this product moves so well that I just pay for it, because I know it's going to sell.
Yeah.
We introduced a new electrolyte supplement from a well-known brand as well. Didn't move at all. Did not move. Spoke about it. We let people try it. Didn't move.
How interesting.
And then we made the switch. We were like, can you guys please make us a stand like this brand has for us to
Yeah.
put singles in? We put the singles in.
Yeah.
People started buying the singles.
Yeah.
And the boxes started going.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like they'll bring the barrier of consumption down, like the
Yes.
barrier to buying the thing from 500 Rand to 25 Rand. They buy 6 or 7 of them and they're like, fuck, I'm spending $150 on 7 sachets.
Yes, that they don't know of. Actually,
know.
I know there's someone who had the same. I was a problem here where they like bought the single one and they're like they didn't know the brand or they didn't know if they liked it, something like that. And they're like, but I love that they had the single one, so I bought the single one because I didn't want to commit to 20. And then I have 20 that I don't know of, and it was such a good data point for me because I was like, okay, cool, singles.
And you can't do that with clothing, as you said.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
you can't snip a sleeve off and be like, yeah, wear the sleeve. It's 20
Yeah.
Rand, not
the like
1,000
the
Rand.
economics of like a consumable like this is just like for me just the math just makes a lot of sense because you can actually just kind of start like you said like you can't cut a sleeve off, you're kind of stuck with this buck ton of like capital wrapped up in here, whereas here you can find creative ways of moving and also like looking at things like why isn't this thing working? Maybe we test 10, maybe we test 20, maybe we test like just a single sachet. And that's easier to play with than it is activewear, where you've spent like a really long time sampling this thing and there's like all this, it's more capital intensive, and everything. So yeah, that's a good note.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Like we put the singles there and it's weird. The difference between giving people samples
Yeah.
and letting them buy one thing.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because we were giving samples. It's not like we weren't giving them out.
Yeah, it's a very careful thing because it's like when you put a price tag on something, you value it more. So when you give away something for free, and that's where it's like I'm very aware with kind of this like go-to market strategy, which is like I don't want to just constantly go out and like give people samples because it's gonna like also like it's not gonna value it that much because they didn't buy it, So it's also like it's just that psychology of if I bought something versus given as a sample. So I am like really curious what the ROI is on like just giving things out. Like it's a huge like marketing tool that people are using now in the running space, like we spoke about earlier. So I am curious what that does look like because I know I go to things and I might try something. I don't know if I buy it. I guess I would if I liked the electrolyte.
If you have to just switch the use case to like us, for example, that is probably the most important part of us acquiring customers is like, at least from my mind, tactically, it's you want to try before you buy. You have to try the stuff.
Oh yeah.
So we do
100%.
like tons of free trials and trial pass and this and that because it's I don't know. It's like whereas that is a little bit different to the whole product thing, but
Yeah, it's mainly just because of the markets. But like I have realized that like I think I need to like work out the percentage it's going to be, but I'm like I think a good 50 to 70 is just going to have to be like a write-off from the business in terms of like giving things out and like letting people actually, because it's a new product to market and it's also a lot of other brands people can use. So why would they then try a different product?
will it be the same brand?
Yeah, it's going to be under up. Yeah, the branding's really, really cool. We did the branding so many different times. But anyway, so that is a huge part of like, okay, cool. I'm like 70% is going to be a bit of a write-off, or 50 to somewhere there. But it's in hopes that it comes back, because people at least tried it and they can now buy into it from there. Yeah.
I think the cool thing as well, though, is you've given it so much thought and you also are excited by the problem and the thing.
Yeah.
So even if it takes however long to get a bit of momentum, it's fun for you. So you'll have the, I don't know what the word
Yeah,
is.
having fun's huge.
It's so
Like, I
important
think
to
that's
sticking it out.
Yes, I think it's the biggest thing where it's like I've kind of been doing things in a way where I'm like, am I gonna have fun doing this? And like I've actually been making decisions based on like, does this feel fun? Does this not feel fun? Because Yeah, especially with just like in terms of like branding decisions, where I'm like, because I think the brand is kind of focused on that. It's not always serious, but it should be this like fun project that we're working on. It's
I
kind of
think
how I see
that's what
things.
gets people inspired and like we also said, like the thing of entrepreneurship is hard regardless.
Yeah,
So adding like a fun layer is really helpful to
yeah,
give you a little bit of extra
yeah.
staying
Everyone's
power.
trying to be serious now as well. I think like everything is like so serious, and so I think that like in a way I'm like just like have fun. Like even with like Outlaw coming up, I think like someone was like they were like feeling a bit overwhelmed earlier with like all the tasks that we had to do. And I was like, we're gonna do our best, but like most importantly, like let's just have fun. Like we are gonna try to set things up so that we are as organized as possible. We have like the best event, but like things are probably gonna go wrong. But like, but we're gonna have fun with it, and we're gonna handle it. And I think that I always try to like just remind myself and people or anyone that I guess work with an app to just like have fun because things are just not gonna go always to plan. But at least we're trying our best.
The last thing I wanted to find out from you was I wanted to spend a lot more time on Outlaw, but unfortunately I've taken up all ye time. How do you decide on what community things to do? Because you've had Show Up and
Yeah.
Stroll, you've had
Yeah.
the Flow, Beach Yoga, you've had multiple other things, 4x4x48.
Yeah.
You have now got this gnarly, crazy, sick run from Hermanus to Cape Town, Outlaw. How do you pick these? Like, what is what's the little checkbox of this is a cool thing that I will do around the
Yeah.
community? How do you decide?
Um,
Because a run of a 160K relay is so different
Yeah.
from a stroll.
Ye-
So what about those two things check Meg's boxes?
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
I guess that's where you can like really like just like see the evolution. But I think you get Stroll, for example, because and again, I think it was that pushback to what I said earlier, which was like it's not always about their stats, right? So like if a stroll for you is your way of endurance and your way of getting out there and showing up for yourself, like we also want to honor that. And I think that like even if you have your Monday off and you want to go for a stroll, like there's beauty in that and acknowledging that as well, and like almost like slowing down because just everything's just been yeah, like everything's like so stats driven, like like sleep scores and all of that, and I'm just like, just have fun, or like just like listen to your body, and that goes a long way. So I think like kind of stroll fits into that, and with the rest of the things, I'll have like definitely a lot of ideas for events or things will pop up, but I think it's kind of where I start seeing myself working towards it, and I think that's how I know something I want to do something or I don't want to do. Like I've realized I'll have a lot of ideas, and if I don't naturally start gravitating towards that idea, I probably won't see it all the way through. So something like Outlaw just kind of naturally gravitated towards that. And I think it started last year with the idea of like that like relay that we did here where like it was like a treasure hunt relay like thing for the dressed as cowboys. Fuck, it was funny.
Oh God, that was a sick event.
In the rain and people like running around town with cowboy hats. So that one was hectic. I almost think that one was more hectic than this Outlaw thing. But yeah, I think just naturally start gravitating towards it, and it like just hits the mission, and it just like hits all the values, and I think always trying to find ways that are just like adding value to people. That's not a traditional 5K or 10K, but how are we thinking out of the box? How are we getting people to think of the sport out of the box? That's not just like go fast, go hard. That we're like let's add a little bit of like a twist where it's like we just want to just think about the sport a bit differently, and endurance a bit differently.
Do you have any people doing the Outlaw solo?
No. So it was really back and forth about having people, like allowing people to do it solo or not.
Oh, you're not allowing it.
No. Granted, if someone were to ask, to be honest, like we have rules, and they're fine if you want to break them. It's mainly everything's a rule just from like a safety perspective, But people reached out and like I'm like, actually, go ahead, it's fine. Initially, we had to run in pairs. People were like, we don't want to. I'm like, that's chilled. Like as long as you feel comfortable running where we'll be running on the routes, then that's fine. But we kind of, with one person doing it, I think we just wanted like the sense of community and it being a relay.
Yes,
And I think that
more fun.
yeah, I think we just like wanted to kind of lean into that rather than this like, and I know there's community in doing something by yourself and having your crew with you, but I think we just really wanted to like lean into that like atmosphere and like that type of vibe and everything. But if someone wanted to, they could have reached out and I would have been like, yeah, go for it. But no one did.
And for you to reflect on Outlaw after it happens, because it's happening on when next week?
It's next weekend, Saturday.
Next weekend, Saturday.
Yeah.
That is what is that?
It's the 20th.
The 20th of
Yeah.
September. How would it look for you to walk away from that and be like,
Stoked.
yeah, I'm happy with
I
that.
always measure and do everything for an event if other people are stoked. Like if the
Okay.
participants, like everything that we do, and it's like even when we work with brands, it's like the first thing is like adding value to the participants' experience, you know? And so that's where like I'm so easy to like say yes on things. And I'm like, I just want people to have a good time. So if we walk away and people are proud of, like, are stoked with what they did, they're proud, you know, like that one girl getting she like enjoyed the event that we did so much, she got a tattoo and she was so proud of herself. Like, then I'm like, put on a sick event. We could have everything go wrong, and we did with one thing where like it just rained the entire time, but people were proud and they were stoked, and that's kind of, I guess, what matters the most and stuff. Yeah.
That's a good metric. Thank you for your time again.
Thank you.
I'm sure I will have you here again. We will have you again. I hope so, because we just scratched the surface of things. I would love to find out more about. I don't know if you've publicly spoken at all about the electrolyte thing.
No, I mean, I
Okay.
put it on like on stories to kind of
Okay,
be like,
okay.
you know, we're testing,
We
but
must definitely have a chat again once that's going.
yeah,
I think that'd be
we'll
cool.
see if my like thoughts have been able to put it onto that paper into the world.
So, how does building an activewear brand added value to what you stand for? Thanks for that question, Eddie.
That's a really good question. It's not about like the activewear. Like it could, like, it's not about the activewear. I mean, now we're doing electrolytes. It's about being in the community of the sport of endurance. So activewear is just like something that we kind of, you know, we get to sell. But it comes with like being able to be in the community and being able to be in the sport. And now with like electrolytes, now we can like sponsor events. So like that's awesome. And we get to like throw events. So it's like, yeah, we have this product and we sell the product and do my best, you know, do the best to make it a great product. But it's like almost not even about the activewear. It's like, it's actually just about everything else around it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that answers that well.
Nice. Okay. Well, you heard it here first. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got any questions, please always feel free to shoot them through, and we will catch you in the next episode. Cheers.
Cool.
Thank you so much for listening to the show, guys. We love answering specific questions. So if there's anything you want to know, leave a comment or reach out to us directly at HorizonZA on Instagram, or email us at movement@horizongym.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Seb Prentice, and this is Beyond Physical.